Today's video is brought to you by Audible. For your free audiobook download, head over to audible.com/today. Hey guys, Jonathan here with TLD, and this past week I did a recap of 10 of the cool products that I saw at CES 2014. One of them was the Sony FDR-AX100 4K camcorder, and a lot of you asked me to cover it a little more extensively. Now, first and foremost, the biggest selling point about this camcorder is the price point, $19.99, and I know some may see that and still think it's crazy expensive, but the fact of the matter is, right now for 4K options as far as video go, you're looking at a minimum of $4,000 to $5,000, so this is really aggressive pricing on Sony's part. Now, I know someone's going to make that Galaxy Note 3 comment, and for what it does, it takes outstanding video, but there's so much more that goes into actual video quality as opposed to just pixels and resolution. There's dynamic range, image stabilization, the actual codec that it records in, and of course, the actual sensor behind the camera. Now, speaking of sensors, and I did get a few questions regarding that in my previous video, and it features a 1-inch sensor, which is roughly about the same as what they put in their RX100 cameras. And I actually own the Mark II version of that, and that is hands down my favorite point and shoot that I've ever owned. It takes some pretty outstanding pictures and videos, so even though it has a 1-inch sensor, which is smaller than Micro Four Thirds and an APS-C, because of my experience with the RX100 Mark II, I wouldn't be too worried about the sensor size or image quality on this camcorder. Now, it also does feature Carl Zeiss glass with an aperture range of f2.8 to f4.5, and with the sensor size factored in, it has a 35mm equivalent focal length of 29mm, so it's not super wide, but I guess you could say it's wide enough. It also features 12 times optical zoom and built-in ND filters, which is definitely a plus when you're shooting outside. As far as the actual recording goes, it's going to do so at a resolution of 3840 by 2160 at either 30 frames or 24 frames per second, so no 60p, but with the aggressive pricing that's kind of expected with this camcorder. If you did want 60 frames per second, it can do that at 1920 by 1080, but you are capped out at 30 frames per second on 4K recording. As you guys can see, it's not overly big. I got a chance to actually go hands-on with it, and it's pretty light for what it is. On top, you can see there's a 5.1 surround microphone, which I'm sure is going to be decent and okay for most scenarios. But what's cool is even though this looks like a normal hot shoe connector, but it's actually going to be for various adapters, including one that would allow you to have an XLR input into this camera. So in addition to having a 3.5mm audio jack, you do have some flexible options as far as that goes. You have a pretty decently sized 3.5-inch LCD screen and tons of controls and easy access to buttons around the camcorder. So you can see we got easy access to white balance, night mode, iris, gain, and ISO, as well as the shutter speed. Another plus that I talked about in my previous video was the fact that it shoots on standard SD-XC card slots, so you're not limited to Sony's proprietary memory stick cards in this case. Now, last week at CES, they wouldn't let me take any footage with me because obviously it's a prototype, but they did have a booth setup where you can actually go hands-on and test out the camcorder, and I was actually a lot more surprised than I thought I would be. Obviously, this isn't a perfectly lit environment and a perfect scenario for the camcorder, but just messing around with the zoom and looking at a 4K monitor with the amount of detail and sharpness and clarity of this camera, it actually kind of blew me away. Just to give you guys an idea of how well the zoom works, here is where I was on the floor, and you can see way back in the distance, that's how far the Samsung booth was. And as you can see, I was able to get pretty close up to the subject. So you can see with the brief time that I got to spend with the camera, it was definitely impressive. On top of that, it also features Wi-Fi and NFC connectivity. And overall for the price point, I think it's going to be a solid option for 4K recording. And more importantly, it's a big move into the video industry, which is going to bring down pricing on other cameras and camcorders, and it's going to help lead the 4K revolution. Now, before I hop out of here, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Audible for supporting the channel and allowing me to make the best possible content that I can for you guys. If you guys weren't aware, Audible.com has over 150,000 downloadable titles from all types of genres. I know a lot of you guys, myself included, may not get as much time to read a book as we would like, but because it's in audio form, you can take advantage while you're at the gym, while you're driving, places where you normally couldn't read a book, and you can do that on your smartphone, your tablet, your MP3 player. It makes it really easy. So driving up to Vegas this past week, I finally got to finish listening to the Steve Jobs biography using Audible, and whether you're a fan of Apple or just tech in general, I would definitely recommend checking this out. So you can download this or many other books for free by heading over to audible.com/today. Again, that'll help score you a free book and you can help support the channel. So aside from that, thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did and you are feeling like being awesome, thumbs up are much appreciated. If you guys have any questions, leave me a comment down below or hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, or Google+. That is linked down in the description along with the gear that I use to make my videos. Again, this is Jonathan with TLD, and I will see you guys later.